The snow fell in thick, silent curtains across the Montana plains, each flake catching what little light remained in the winter sky. Jake Morrison had been riding the fence line for hours, checking for breaks in the wire that kept his cattle safe from the harsh wilderness beyond. His breath came in white puffs as he urged his horse forward through the deepening drifts. It was then that he saw her dot. At first, Jake thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. The cold had a way of making a man see things that weren't there. But as he drew closer to the old wooden fence post, his heart nearly stopped. A woman sat bound in the snow, her white dress torn and stained, her dark hair hanging in wet tangles around her face. 3 small bundles lay before her in the snow, and Jake's blood ran cold when he realized what they were. Babies, 3 tiny babies, wrapped in thin cloth, their small faces red from the bitter cold. Jake dismounted quickly, his boots crunching through the snow as he approached. The woman looked up at him with eyes that held a mixture of fear and desperate hope. She was young, perhaps 25, with olive skin that had been marked by recent violence. A purple bruise shadowed her left cheek, and her lip was split and swollen. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the wind. "Please, help them. They're so cold." Jake knelt in the snow beside the babies, his large hands gentle as he checked each one. They were alive, all 3 of them, but their skin was blue with cold. Without hesitation, he shrugged off his heavy wool coat and began wrapping it around the smallest of the 3. "What happened here?" Jake asked, his voice calm and steady despite the anger building in his chest. He could see the rope burns on the woman's wrists, the way she flinched when he moved too quickly. "My husband," she said, the words coming out in broken whispers. "He wanted sons. When the midwife told him I had given birth to 3 daughters." She couldn't finish the sentence, but Jake understood. He had seen enough cruelty in his 42 years to recognize its aftermath. "He left us here to die," she finally managed. "Said I was cursed. Said daughters were a burden he wouldn't bear." Jake's jaw tightened as he worked to free the rope. Binding her to the fence post, his knife made quick work of the knots, and he helped her to her feet. She swayed, weak from cold and exhaustion, and he steadied her with a gentle hand on her arm. "What's your name?" he asked. "Maria Valdez," she replied. "These are my daughters, Rosa, Alina, and Sophia." As she spoke their names, her voice grew stronger, filled with a mother's fierce love. Jake looked at the 3 babies, now wrapped in his coat, and then at their mother. The wind was picking up, and the temperature was dropping fast. They wouldn't survive much longer out here. "You're coming with me," Jake said firmly. It wasn't a question or a suggestion. It was a statement of fact, delivered with the quiet authority of a man who had made his decision and wouldn't be swayed from it. Maria's eyes widened. I have nothing to offer you. No money. No, I'm not asking for anything," Jake interrupted gently. He gathered 2 of the babies in his arms, while Maria held the 3rd. "My ranch is 2 miles from here. We need to get you and these little ones warm before it's too late." The journey back to Jake's ranch house seemed to take forever. He led his horse through the snow, while Maria walked beside him, both of them protecting the babies from the wind. As best they could, Jake's house appeared through the swirling snow like a beacon, its windows glowing with warm yellow light. Inside, Jake moved with surprising efficiency for a man who had lived alone for so many years. He built up the fire in the hearth until it roared and crackled, filling the room with warmth. He brought clean blankets and helped Maria settle into the large armchair by the fire. Then he heated milk on the stove and showed her how to feed the babies with a small spoon. "Why?" Maria asked as she cradled little Rosa, watching Jake tend to the other 2 babies with gentle hands. "Why are you helping us?" Jake was quiet for a long moment, staring into the fire. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft with old pain. "I lost my wife and daughter 5 years ago. Fever took them both in the same week." He looked up at Maria, his eyes honest and kind. "I know what it's like to lose everything that matters, but I also know what it's like to wish for a second chance at having a family." Maria felt tears running down her cheeks. "I was so afraid," she whispered. "I thought we would all die out there." "You're safe now," Jake said. "All of you. This is your home for as long as you need it to be." Over the following weeks, as winter slowly gave way to spring, Jake's quiet ranch house came alive with new sounds, the soft cries of babies, Maria's gentle humming as she worked in the kitchen, the sound of small feet pattering across wooden floors as the girls grew stronger and began to explore their new world. Jake found himself smiling more than he had in years. He taught Maria to ride his gentler horses, showed her how to tend the vegetable garden behind the house, and spent long evenings by the fire telling stories to the 3 little girls who had begun to call him Papa Jake. Maria proved to be strong and capable, her initial fear giving way to quiet confidence. She cooked meals that filled the house with wonderful aromas, mended Jake's clothes with skillful hands, and slowly began to trust that this kindness was real and lasting. One evening, as they sat together, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and purple, Maria reached for Jake's hand. "Thank you," she said simply, "for saving us. For giving us a home." Jake squeezed her hand gently. "You saved me too," he replied. I didn't realize how empty this place was until you filled it with life again." The three little girls played at their feet, happy and healthy, their laughter mixing with the sound of cattle lowing in the distance. It wasn't the family any of them had planned for, but it was perfect in its own way. As the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Jake looked at the woman and children who had become his world. Sometimes the greatest blessings came disguised as the deepest sorrows. Sometimes a lonely rancher's simple act of kindness could transform for lives forever. "You're home now," Jake said softly, and for the first time in years, Maria truly believed in tomorrow.